Well, Jim, it's been a bit of a strange week, really. We started it after Saturday looking like we might have 11 days rest, and in the end we're having 2 games in 3 days. Has that been difficult to plan and prepare for?
Yeah, because when I was interviewed post Saturday, I kind of alluded to what was going on behind the scenes, and I think John was asking me about having a bit of a break, and is that a good thing? And I'm thinking, well, we're coming in Monday, um, dusting ourselves down, but potentially at 1 o'clock being told we're in the FA Cup on Wednesday, and then that means then there's a potential for a game on Saturday before you play Notts County. So yeah, so it has been difficult, but as I said in my post-match interview the last game, that we don't look at anything as an excuse or an obstacle to doing things right. So we came in Monday prepared. I think we had a great 2 days, Monday and Tuesday, in correcting ourselves, but with a real focus of winning on Wednesday. And we've had a nice boost from that throughout the club, not just the players. And now we're in a position where we can. Today we've been working really hard to try and give ourselves another massive boost on Saturday when we play Rochdale.
And I suppose that's one of the benefits. I mean, you could look at the injuries we have and say maybe a rest would have been a good thing, but to get that win, especially after the disappointment of Saturday, and suddenly go into these games with a bit more positivity around the club, that must be a benefit.
Yeah, I think this whole idea of a rest at this stage of the season, I mean, there's an argument about fatigue, and I think there's conversations going on about 5 subs and using 5 subs and the injuries. Yeah, you do have to be mindful of overall loading and fatigue, but if you ask any player if he was going into a week after a defeat, you're like 12 days off, or does he want the game in 2 days? And you know, the right players will always say, I want the game, I want to get back on that pitch, I want to get back to what I love doing, because at the moment the taste in my mouth is bitter. So I think we've got a lot of those players, you know, and we can look at certain players who maybe look tired, maybe their body language is tired, but there's other players who are really epitomising what we're about, which is that they want to play every minute and they want to play every game, and the standard from the first minute to last minute is really high. And they've been the players really that have put us in the position we're in.
I think we had about 6 players out for the game on Wednesday night. How many of those do you think are in a position to maybe play on Saturday?
I'm not sure the 6 that were thought, but yeah, I think we expect all of them back. I think you know we missed Sam obviously because he was ill, but he's recovered, so that's one back. We have Lewis Britton available now. Obviously, he'd come to the club when we had permission for the FA Cup, but his registration was after the original date of Chesterfield House. That's another one in the squad. And then we've had Jordan Williams been training. We've had JJ back, and we've had Mark Kitchen back. So, in that sense, we've added 5 players. If the 6th one was Harvey Goodman, was it? Well, Harvey trained today but non-contract. He joined in the matches but with no tackling. But I think he just needs to build up his confidence. He's physically, in terms of running and kicking's fine. Now it's just about getting around the pitch and getting used to bodies coming at you and different sort of block tackles and clashes. So I think that's just a confidence building thing for him. But I'd expect him to have a good week's training next week, and then he'll be available for the squad. But at the moment, fingers crossed, we look like we have everybody else available, apart from Harvey and Niall Bell, who's got a small knee injury. So both of them, I think, are just maybe a week away. With a bit of confidence building and training, they'll be fine and they'll add to the squad. And you know, we've already got a healthy 19 for this game, which is more than enough to have a bench of 7 and a bit of cover. But we've also now got the potential that as we get into the thick of November, that we'll have a really good squad to call upon for the next 6 or 7 weeks as we head into the back end of this year.
One of the big talking points on Wednesday with all the injuries was a change in formation. We went to a 4-4-2, which isn't something we've seen a lot of in the past. When you consider how well it went on Wednesday, is it something we could see more of in the future?
I think people get caught up on systems and then they start blaming the systems. I think the system of play is only a framework. I think the only time you might have seen us looking like 4-4-2 was potentially when their goalkeeper had a kick. Back fours in place to deal with their front three, midfield fours in shape, and the front two. I'd like to think that as we opened up from the back. You've probably seen the full-back stepping up the pitch, midfielders dropping down, wingers rotating in field. Watch your shape down. So we can move, and we've talked about this with Rochdale, because Rochdale on paper look like potentially a 4-3-3, but they roll wingers high, wingers into midfield, drop midfielders into the baseline to create a +1, full-backs go high. So it's not really the system, it's about how you utilise the spare man and rotate your positions to build play or to cause problems and penetrate. So I think what really pleased me about the game the other day was using Keane as a libero or a spare defender, and the idea was to try and utilise him as a +1 in the back line and to be able to build. And then obviously giving a little bit more freedom to like Connor to roam off the flanks and create a +1 in midfield. So we've seen elements of that, but ultimately the structure of the team, the directness of the team, the counter-attack of the team is all really down to the qualities of the players rather than actually any system of play.
And when you've got players like Liam Hogan and Jamie Stott who played in the unnatural fullback role on Wednesday, Liam got man of the match, Jamie I thought had a really good game. It must help to have such versatile players throughout the squad at the minute.
Yeah, I mean those two did really well. I mean we've used Liam as a sort of a right of the 3 or right of the 4, so I think he's comfortable playing there. I thought Jamie was outstanding, because the concern with Jamie was that Jamie would be up against a pacey wide man in Colombia, and he may be facing Nubi, who'll give him problems, but he wasn't found wanting there, and I think that he gives you a natural balance. But yeah, Keane in an unnatural position. You think he's when I signed him, he was Player of the Year for Boston at left centre back. Did really well for us as a holding midfielder, and having players that can, like you said, when they're not playing out of position, they're just expanding their shape to utilise their strengths in the attacking formation. But ultimately, they're all good defenders, and then you're asking them, can they extend? But Hogs and Jamie really extended well for us. It was a threat that I didn't expect when our wingers went infield, that we would get an extension from the fullbacks, but it was there. So, because on paper it looks like a sort of an old Stoke City back four, 4 centre halves in a row, or West Brom, under their manager. But for us, it was a solid defensive shape, but had potential to be expanded. But in terms of man of match, I just couldn't fault any single player that played from the start to the end, and so I was really pleased with the overall contribution. And I think they'll all feel better about the part that they've played. And if you like, not just in the defensive structure, but also in terms of making us a goal threat.
It was picked up on Wednesday that obviously you watched a lot of the game from in the stands. Is that a sign that you're starting to trust the players to maybe manage themselves on the pitch a bit more and find solutions in game rather than going to you on the touchline?
Yeah, I mentioned that after in the interview. I think that it's a really poor viewing position. Two dugouts are so close, and if you everybody thinks that might be the best seat in the house, but if you come and sat there, you can't watch half the game to your left. So plus you get involved in the emotions of the opposition bench, the kind of the interaction with the referee, whether the fourth official seen something. And I think the last game when we had the referee say to us that wasn't a foul, that wasn't an elbow, I think it's been come to light that it was an elbow. So at least the fourth official on thing, he said, I didn't see it. I'd rather that than some. So there's that kind of nonsense that goes on, but there's also the better viewing position to be able to sort of see the width and the depth. Sometimes as a manager you trust yourself that you can see the game in that kind of lower position and you can judge depths and distances between players. But I sat back really to sort of keep the middle ground where I'm involved, but I'm keeping a respectful distance and allowing the players to. They made mistakes. They needed to iron a few things out. I could hear the staff managing them. I could hear them managing each other. So it wasn't just what I was seeing; it was what I was hearing. Hopefully, it contributed to the better performance. But I really felt. The wife Hazel asked me before the game, "How do you feel?" I said, "I feel really good. I feel the team after Saturday, after the training Monday and Tuesday, we're in a great position to go and win the game and to play what I'd put in training on Monday and Tuesday." So. With that feeling, I felt confident if I sat in the stand to trust them that they would deliver most of what we were looking for and most of what they were looking for as well.
It's Rochdale up next. Obviously, you have some great memories of managing against them in the past. I think your first ever win as county manager came at Spotland. How excited are you about the challenge of measuring yourself against a League One side?
Yeah, great memories, that one. I think if rumours to be told, I think I was offered the job. They had a meeting in the car park and gave me the job afterwards. I think they were obviously, I was caretaker manager and privileged and proud to be the manager just to help the club through a difficult period. Delighted they gave me the opportunity because it turned out to be the catalyst to us staying up. That particular game would come a long way from a team that I'd seen demoralised, battered and bruised after Macclesfield. For us to go there and to find a way of keeping two of the best strikers in the league, Grant Holt and Ricky Lambert, quiet, get a clean sheet, be a threat and win the game 1-0. And there was a massive 3 points on the journey to survival. And we've had some other great memories there. Great story about Liam Dickinson, because Liam Dickinson had come into the side around that season and next, and but people might not realise this, he only scored at the Cheadle end or at the county end. So I told him, with us, our fans in the middle of the pitch, you're going to struggle to score today, and he said, I'll score on both ends, and he did. So some good memories from there. I think Brian Barry Murphy's done a great job there. They're a really good League One side. They've lost some big players because of financial reasons and more importantly for trusting in the young players that are coming through. And Brian's team, you know, I know Brian and Jim, we've got a lot of respect for what they've seen us doing back in 2005, 6, 7 season. And I think they're trusting in young players, they're trusting in a good brand of football to compete well above where their financial station is. So I think he's done an incredible job. Looking forward to seeing them because I think they're a good brand of football. They play the game in the right spirit, and I think it'll be a cracking football game between us.
One of your former players as well, Jim McNulty, still playing at Rochdale. How much are you looking forward to going up against him again?
Jim was one of my best signings. To consider you can pick someone up like that, it was a real Christmas present to find him out of contract at Christmas and come in the team and that. But never mind the qualities to play left back or left centre back. Just a tremendous lad. Delighted for him to have such a good career. And for a long time it looked really worrying. He had a serious injury to, I think it was his kidney, and that kind of meant that he may not play again, but fortunately he's come back and like a good wine, he's still playing, and you know, he's not playing as big a part now, but they're utilising him really well to when they need a little bit of strength or experience in the back line. And there's some good memories there, good players, and I think that I'm sure that they'll be looking forward to seeing 2 or 3. I think Sam Minahan got his debut there under John Coleman, and I think Kitch started off there. Jordan Williams only a couple of years ago played for Rochdale against us. So there's some good connections in this one. But going back to your previous question, it's a real chance for us to see how far we've come. You know, we can sometimes have days when we look like losers, when you get beaten by a part-time side who just have a little bit too much divil on the day for us to handle their energy and their gung-ho-ness. And then there's other days when we look like we're a cut above this level. So what we need to do is be consistent, always be in a game. And this is a real chance for our players maybe just to show that they can compete with a team of that level. And as individuals, they deserve to be on that pitch.
Obviously, we played Rochdale in pre-season this season as well, and when you look at that game, for large parts of the game, it was quite close. It was level at half-time until we made quite a lot of changes. Does that give you encouragement at all?
Yeah, I think in all 3 games against Fleetwood, Rochdale and Salford, we learnt different lessons from them. I mean, I think Fleetwood, the way they played the game was excellent, and you can see why they're hunting hard at the top of the first division for the championship. Really know how to play the 3-5-2 or even to change variations of that. And then when we played Rochdale, I think we've come up against tactics in Rochdale that you just don't see at our level, because there's not the element of tactical trust in the players. But it's a real challenge for us. I think in the first half there, we kind of perhaps gave them a little bit too much respect, let them own the game, but contained them. And I think second half we made a few changes because we weren't quite as fit as them, and a little bit of naivety, somebody switched off and 1-0 down. But I think it's nice to get them back around to see how far we've come from that team, because obviously we were just bedding ourselves in to see where we're going, and now we're kind of starting to get a feel of who our new identity. It'd be nice to see how that new team looks against somebody that's 2 levels above us.
It's strange, really. I mean, this is probably the first game this season we're going into where we're not the favourites. Does that affect how you approach the game? I mean, might we see a bit more of a conservative approach, or do you want to see your team try to go toe-to-toe with them?
I think you've got to do both. I think you can't have one mindset. We've always had a very positive mindset to go and win the game, but you always have to respect the opposition and have strengths. You've got to respect them on their own patch, and we'll try to own the game, boss the game, and the way that they have the ball. They'll be possession driven, looking to switch it, and then there'll be a real challenge for us in terms of patience and perseverance, and not being de-energised by not having the ball, but waiting for the opportunity to turn over the ball and hurt them. So I think there's a bit of both, because there's going to be times when we can really go for it, and there's going to be other times when we're going to have to defend to stay in the game. So I think it's one of those where it's going to be a real mental and tactical battle for our players, in terms of because they're going to go against a different style than they used to, and it's about how they cope with that. It won't be battering rams and a war of attrition. It'll be more about being clever, concentrated, and making sure you don't make mistakes and that you capitalise on any gaps that they create or allow for you. So it's like I said, in all these games there's a bit of both. I think the way that we're feeling at the moment, we feel quietly confident that we can contain them, and that we can hurt them with the way that we play. Like I said, but we certainly wouldn't be underestimating them, and I'm sure that Brian Barry Murphy won't be underestimating us. So it's going to be one of those games where I think it could be really tight, and hopefully it's a little bit of quality from one of the players that makes a huge difference.
And just to end on another positive note, if he plays tomorrow, it'll be Jordan Keane's 100th appearance as a county player. He's another one that's just made that step up in quality. He's taken it in his stride, really, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think what's been really positive about this period, I know there's a lot to be made about the new things that are here, but when you consider we've still got the same staff, and I've fought hard to keep a hard core from last season, people that I felt that, don't judge them on what they've done as part-time players, and then respect them that if you give them the opportunity to be full-time, that there's another level in them. And I think that we've seen that very clearly with Ben and Ash and Sam and Adam and Keane. So I'm really pleased that 5 of the old guard that we've kept have really stood up. I kind of lament the fact that maybe we should have if we kept 1 or 2 of us, they could have done a really good job for us. But I think that definitely those 5 have deserved the confidence and faith that I placed in them to come aboard and continue the journey, become better players, and be part of a better team. And the consistency's been there in terms of the 100 games. They've come on a great journey, and I think they're loving every minute of this season. And long may their continued involvement and success continue.
Great stuff, Jim. Thank you, Tom.
You're welcome.